Insomniac, and welcome back to D&D Player Moments. So this one is actually a little bit of a follow-up from last episode. If you watched it, or well, listened to it rather, you'll know that my character was trapped in quite an ingenious-sounding trap, but trapped nonetheless. And if you've already guessed, you might have already guessed from the title, that he has left, but he hasn't died, which is an odd situation. Now, this character, Axel Rhom'khul, my dwarven fighter, is I'm very attached to this character, you could say. When he almost died recently, I was kind of upset, to be honest. 2 years of play with a single character will probably do that to a person. And I've gotten a hang on the character's thoughts and mindset and all that type of stuff. So he feels very real to me as a character. But unfortunately, he has had to leave the party, and not through any choice of party itself or my choices really, but just because that's the way the story of our game went. So he's left, basically, forced to leave almost. So I'm going to be taking on a new character. Now this leaving of Axel might not be permanent, but it might be. We just don't know. He's basically in the hands of the DM now because he's just too far away, and it's unfeasible to play 2 games at once. Essentially, we want to keep everything integrated. There's too much going on the party side to follow Axel trying to make his way back to the party however way he can. So he's gone. So if you remember, he was trapped on the other side of this time dilation field, and the time dilation field was basically activated by the party messing with the power settings for the facility. So it was on when the power settings were on, which basically stopped them from getting through without getting frozen. And when it was off, myself and my captors could act and do all sorts of things and react to what the players wanted to do. So they come out with this plan, the party did, to bluff that they could destroy the facility and blow everybody up inside if they didn't return me and the final key we needed and certain items as well. But over the week before the session, myself and the DM, we played out what actually happened in the meantime. So to try and force the player's hand, the enemies basically convinced Axel's cooperation. Now, I wasn't about to fight my way out. I wanted to, trust me, I really, really wanted to. But there was a couple of what I presume to be high-level clerics, as well as about, I think it was 20 plus undying soldiers. These are basically humans that have had their brains removed and replaced by a control cube, and they're all controlled by what they called the war leader of the clerics. And the war leader was nowhere in sight. They use this magic circlet, one of which our party possesses, a lower ranked one, which he's been using to control dwarven automata. But the undying, another type of undying automata, were basically alive until I could get to the war leader, whose location I still do not know this entire time. And there was these 2 clerics in the room, so it wasn't looking feasible, even for a 6th level dwarf, to fight his way throughout them all. These Undyings were nasty stuff. They get 2 attacks, all sorts of stuff. So I try and bargain my way out. They wanted to take me to one of the other facilities using their route they'd carved through the walls, through a mushroom forest, and I convinced them to let me just walk freely. I'll go with them. They did take my weapons and my backpack, but when we got to the new facility, they kept all my equipment within sight and placed the key we wanted in my backpack. So the idea was that I was to go over to the player's side, to the rest of the party, and convince them to turn the power onto the facility so this warband that had captured me could escape out of the facility and back to where they came from. That's all they wanted. They didn't want anything else, because my character found out that these people work for someone called the Dark King, and the Dark King serves Xenotel, which is the dwarven god or leader in some way, and our actions currently working to, well, are presumed to be working to freeing this god, when in reality we're actually going to try and destroy it, I believe. I don't think the party's entirely sure on that, but generally that's the outcome of things. So they was like, yeah, let us out. We want you to continue on. Just let us out and we can go about our business. But of course, the party didn't know this and didn't trust them at all. So they went ahead with this bluff plan. I had this message written out because that was the only way we could communicate, just like, because looking for the portal with the time stopped either side basically looked like a photograph. So you just write down the message. So we wrote out this bluff. Well, the party wrote out this bluff, and when they opened the door, there was an undying sign saying, your friend will be coming through. Go to the Bioforge facility in an hour, and we'll reconvene. The party just couldn't trust anything the Dark King's forces were saying to them. And after a long discussion, they decided to leave the power off, keep the gates closed, leave the Undying to, the Dark King's forces to starve to death, essentially, hopefully, and go continue with one of the other tasks we were previously doing, which was clearing out another facility, which would give us time to level up and find some more equipment, and generally be in a better position. Yeah, so they were very, I'm trying to think how to put this. The cleric basically turned around to Axel after a little while of a wait and went, I'm sorry, it looks like they don't want to cooperate with us. They obviously don't trust us. And this had come up in the conversation we were speaking about when we were discussing the plans. And we're going to have to try and leave by other means. Now, the Undying have a way to leave. And they're going to take Axel with them. It's just a long and dangerous trek through what sounds like miles and miles of caverns. The facilities we're in are miles and miles below ground. What I presume to be the original mine that got the dwarves to build the facility in this place to begin with. While they're accessible by portals now, they had to get to the location to create the portal in the first place. So we're going to try and escape that way. We could have stayed in the facility. That there's the ability to live there, fine. That's how they've been surviving. They've been living off. The two facilities that we were in were called Botany and Bioforge. Now, Bioforge is all about gene sequencing and stuff like that. Crazy stuff for a medieval level campaign, but the dwarves were hacks, so hacks. And the other one was Botany, which was all sorts of plants. The Botany facility had been overrun by these mushroom plants that had filled the cavern between the two facilities with this giant mushroom forest. So you could live off it, and there was running water within the facilities. So it was possible to stay there. The problem was that there are another faction has burrowed their way into the mushroom cavern, and it was enough to scare the Dark King's forces. They didn't want to hang around there. They didn't want to try and fight. So they've essentially allowed my character to come with them. I could either go with them or stay in the cavern, which I've decided not to. So I'm going to follow them out, and I believe they're going to try and convince Axel to join the Dark Kings, but I've said I want to return. But we've left the key behind for the players to find. So the players are going to get, well, yeah, we are going to get what we wanted, which was the final key, which I fully agree with, but at the loss of one of our characters. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this. Like, during this entire process of the players coming up with their plan to free me and win the upper hand with this bluff, and just generally, I stayed out of the discussion. Now, we've always had these out of character discussions about what to do, our next move forward. We're a very, very cautious and meticulous party in that fashion, but I stayed out of it because I had all this meta knowledge, and also my character can't actually converse, so it wasn't fair for me to try and tip the hand of the players. Plus, it was a horrible situation already. I'm not entirely sure what their thoughts are on this. I'm not entirely sure they're entirely happy with that choice. The DM, he respects my decision on that a lot, and he's going to trust me to play one of the NPCs who has a lot more meta knowledge. But although I've said not to give me too much information, just his current thoughts on things, just in the meantime until I either roll up another character, which is not feasible in the location we're in, or Axel can make his way back. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the other players think of my decision. At the time, I think they weren't happy. I just explained my reason to them because of, well, metagaming. Like, we're not trying to win a game here. We're trying to play through a story. We have a lot of agency in that respect, but that was just my thoughts, and I didn't want to tip the hand anyway. Like, I could have blown the entire thing open without a character knowledge, but that wasn't fair to the story and to our DM, who managed to craft this quite compelling situation for us. So yeah, I mean, they apologized for abandoning my character, but for their knowledge, it made a lot of sense. And once they'd made their decision, we played out our response to the party just leaving, essentially. So they know what's happened roughly to Axel, but not too many of the particulars. But they've got the idea of what happened, and I explained some of my decisions to them and a little bit about the character knowledge, which won't affect things now. But yeah, so my character of 2 years is essentially temporarily dead, which is crazy. Like, this campaign I've never played another character, and as I've mentioned before, he is one of the original 2 characters. The only ones left are the only one left is the other dwarven character, Thorfus. The other 2, Chuck, our monk, and Idan, our half-elf magic user. They're definitely party members. They just don't have the longevity of the others, but they essentially are the leadership of the party right now. Which will be interesting. It's going to create a new dynamic. Like, we've relied on this NPC I'm going to be taking over a lot. Mainly because he's a cleric. For some reason, clerics are cursed in our playthroughs. We've never had one for very, very long. Either the player leaves, or the character dies, or whatever. So hopefully we don't kill this NPC with me playing it. But it's going to make a new dynamic to the team. The leadership isn't there. Well, the leadership is there. Like, Thorfus is the party's leader, but one of the voices that we used to aren't there, because I'm going to try and play Derek as Derek. It's going to be very hard not to dip into Axel, which is interesting. Like, I do have to wonder how players switch between characters. Like, not every player plays a character. They play an archetype. Like, you see people get comfortable in certain roles and stuff. And I'm going from a dwarven fighter of the modern age to an ancient human out of time who's a cleric and has his own goals that kind of sync up with Axel's, but don't in certain aspects. And he's got all this other knowledge, and he's got his own opinions on trusting certain party members and certain NPCs, but regarding that are occasionally in opposition to what Axel thought. And yeah, it's very, very interesting what's going to happen. And I hope my party forgives me for my decisions not to mitigate, but it just makes sense at the time. Like, I'm definitely a story person, and I'm rambling a little bit now, so I think this will end the episode here. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but I wanted to update you all on what happened with the trap. The trap was essentially successful, but for both sides, it's very, very odd. Hopefully, my characters left a message for the party, so hopefully they get time to find that down the line and can work out where the items are and where my character is and the rest of the story, or if they don't get it from this. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll be back soon enough the next time I find something inspiring to come across. But as I've said every episode, like, I'm looking for someone to come on and be a guest and tell their story and allow me to interview them a little bit. What are some of your own inspiring or inciting moments in D&D? Like, why do you play this game? Come and come and explain that to me and we can publish a video together. That'd be pretty damn awesome. But until next time, I've been Manic Insomniac. Good night.